Hello everybody, Dan Lucas here with Credo, and thanks for joining me on the 50 States in 50 Days series, and we're on day 43, so we're getting close to the end here. And today we are going to talk about the 43rd state that was admitted to the Union, Idaho. And Idaho was admitted to the Union on July 3rd, 1890. So we are, obviously slowing down the pace that we are adding states, and we are getting close to the end. So it's pretty exciting. So just about another week or so, and then we'll be done with the whole series. But in any case, Idaho has been getting a lot of attention kind of recently because a lot of people have been moving there, migrating there, if you will, just for various reasons. I mean, Idaho is not also typically a heavy tax state as far as income. So, people, that might be in California or Oregon or some of the surrounding states that have a very high state income tax have moved to Idaho for tax reasons and various other reasons, which I'm not going to get into politics or anything on this video series. But suffice to say, Idaho is getting a lot of attention, certainly more than I've ever seen in my lifetime. But that being said, I want to talk about some of the tax credits and incentives that are going on in Idaho, and specifically for entrepreneurs, small business owners, etc. So small to mid-sized businesses. Idaho's incentives are not overly complicated, and there's not a huge volume of them, so I don't think they're that hard to navigate, which is always good news. And actually you can actually fit it all on one page if you're looking at the tax incentives. They're not necessarily tax incentives that are typical or cookie cutter like you would see in other states, but that can be a good thing. It's because it's very particular to the citizens of Idaho, so that's a very positive thing, and it could mean that the politicians there are doing their job. Anyway, first thing I want to talk about in Idaho is there's some items that all businesses are eligible for in Idaho. And so I want to go through that list first. Okay. So all businesses in Idaho are eligible for a 3% investment tax credit on all new tangible personal property, which is like machinery and equipment. And they have a carryover of 14 years on that. And you can offset up to 50% of your income tax liability. So very, very generous credit there. The next one, again, all businesses are eligible for all of these. Next one is the personal property tax exemption on the first $100,000 of personal property, such as equipment and furnishings. The next one is a 5% tax credit on qualified research expenses. Now, we talked about research expenses in other videos, and they're not unique to Idaho. Idaho has some very unique credits and incentives. It's not unique to Idaho in this respect. So the R&D credit, research and development, sometimes called the innovation credit, that's a great credit for a state. And again, this is a federal credit, and so Idaho is letting you double dip on it. So you can get a federal credit and then on top of that get a state credit. So I love states that let you double dip on the R&D credit. A lot of people miss this credit, and it's a very lucrative credit. So if you think you're spending any money in R&D for anything, it could be a process, system, could be software, anything that's innovative, it's something you want to look into to see if you qualify for. All right, now the last one on this particular list that all businesses are eligible for is energy conservation rebates through efficient energy use up to $100,000 per year per site. Now, in my experience, if people are doing things, spending money, investing in things that conserve energy, they know it, they're aware of it, they're looking for credits, okay? So if you're doing it, you probably know about it, but just know in the state that they have you can have up to $100,000 per year per site. Okay, so that's great. Okay, now those are the credits and incentives that are eligible for. That apply to all businesses in Idaho. Now let's do a little more that are kind of particular to certain businesses. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is called the Idaho Business Advantage, and in that, businesses that invest at least $500,000 in new facilities and create 10 new jobs, paying at least $40,000 annual plus benefits. Okay, so it's not an average. You could have 20 jobs but you have to have 10 of them paying $40,000 annually plus benefits or more, okay? And you have to also, any of the additional jobs that you would hire have to pay at least an average of $1,550. So pretty low bar there. It's about $30,000 equivalent. You can qualify for the following, and there's 3 different things here. One is an enhanced investment tax credit. So we just talked about how there's a 3% investment tax credit to all businesses. Well, in this case, you're going to get an enhanced one. So you're going to get up from 3% to 3.75%, and you can get up to $750,000 with this credit, or 62.5% of your corporate income tax liability for any year, right? So that's a pretty big business. But anyway, you get an enhancement of your investment tax, and that's a 25% increase in what you would get normally, that all businesses get, okay? Next, you're going to get a new job tax credit from $1,500 to $3,000 for new jobs that are paying $24 per hour or more. That's an equivalent of about $50,000 a year annual, and it's on a graded scale. So you have those are sort of the minutiae details you have to look up particular to this one, which is beyond the scope of this video. But suffice to say, $1,500 to $3,000 per job is pretty good. So you're not going to want to miss out on that money. And then the last one under the Idaho Business Advantage is going to be a 2.5% real property improvement corporate income tax credit up to $125,000 in any 1 year, along with a 25% rebate on sales tax paid on construction materials for those facilities. So a lot of people don't think about sales tax when they think about getting credits, but sales tax is a huge expense. A lot of people just kind of think of it almost like a tip, or that's just kind of added on to the top and it's just a cost. But they're real taxes, just like any other tax. So if we can get a rebate on that, or if we can get an abatement on that, or anything we can do, it's just going to put more dollars in our pocket, okay? Because tax is tax, okay? Whether it's sales tax or income tax. All right, now let's go on to the tax reimbursement incentive, which has the acronym in Idaho of TRI. And this is for businesses that are bringing high-paying jobs into the state of Idaho. And if you're doing this, you're eligible for this tax reimbursement incentive. Now, this you get this after you do it, and you can get a maximum credit of 30% on income, payroll withholdings, and sales taxes for up to 15 years. Okay, so there's a maximum credit on it, but what they're saying is that you can only get a credit of 30% of the income, right? So only 30% off your corporate income for the tax purposes. Payroll withholdings, okay, so you're going to have to still pay 70%, and sales taxes, right? So you're still going to have to pay 70%. But basically, you're getting a 30% reduction in your tax rate on these 3 different taxes, which is great. And you can stack these tax credits. So just because you're getting only 30% off your normal tax rate doesn't mean you can't get other taxes off to help reduce that 70% that you're paying. Okay, so you can stack these on top of one another. Okay. The next one is called the Capital Investment Property Tax Exemption, and this is basically businesses that are considering non-retail facilities. You can get a partial or full property tax exemption for up to 5 years, and you get these have to be approved in advance from the local county commissioners, and your required investment for this exemption has to be, the investment can be anywhere from $500,000 to $3 million, right, depending on what county you're in. And so if you're in that range, this is going to be something you want to look at. If you're investing that much money into real estate, get with the county commissioner, find out what kind of property tax exemption you can get. Don't assume you're just going to get this automatically, okay? They don't just give these things out of the goodness of their heart a lot of times, okay? So you're going to want to be looking into this stuff in advance, as soon as you possibly can, as soon as you know you're going to spend the money, and get on top of it so you can get that exemption, that property tax exemption. Okay. There is 100% sales tax exemption, and 2 categories here. We have one that's under production sales tax exemption. Well, it's called production sales tax exemption, and this is on equipment and raw materials used directly in manufacturing, processing, mining, fabrication, or logging operations. There's some other things underneath here as well. Let's see. So, but there's processing of these materials. Processing materials, substances, or commodities for use as fuel for the production of energy are also exempt. So there's several different areas there. I just kind of named the big ones. The second category of this 100% sales tax exemption is utility and industrial fuels sales. And that is a tax exemption on utilities and industrial fuels such as power, water, natural gas, and telephone. Okay, so those are the two areas underneath the 100% sales tax exemption. Idaho also has something called an opportunity fund, and we've talked about opportunity funds in other videos. Very cool, sort of one of these areas where they're trying to bring poverty into prosperity. Okay, and they targeted different areas geographically, and this is, well, they call this in their on their website a deal closing fund, and they use it to strengthen Idaho's competitive ability, and they support the expansion of existing Idaho businesses that are creating new jobs and economic growth in Idaho. And these are funds, these are like grants, okay? So these are funds that the state sets aside to effectively subsidize businesses that are growing, adding jobs, et cetera, in Idaho. So if that's something you're doing, you definitely want to look into this. Why wouldn't you? As far as, there's another thing called the STEP Grant Export Assistance, and this is from something in Idaho that is called the State Trade Expansion Program, called STEP. And this grant, remember, grant is money. It's not a tax credit or incentive. It supports Idaho businesses and looking to expand into international markets through exports. Okay, Canada, it's right next door, or right north of you. In this funding can help companies participate in governor-led trade or foreign trade missions, international trade shows. So it's really to sort of promote international business in the state of Idaho. So if you're doing anything in that area, look at it. But it's very niche. You either are or you aren't. So it either really applies to you or it doesn't apply to you at all. All right, another tax credit they have is the College Savings Program. So this is interesting to a lot of people out there, especially people with children. And this is where an employer is eligible to receive a 20% tax credit for contributions made to an employee's ideal college savings account. An ideal college savings account is an Idaho college savings account. We have the same thing as to where I'm domiciled in Georgia. The tax credit is capped at $500 per employee per taxable year. What I love about this is that the employer can make contributions on behalf of its employees, right? So it could be for the employee or it could be for the employee's dependents. I just think that's super, super cool. Great benefit. If you're an employer, highly encourage you to do that. And obviously get the credit, because the credit's not going to get itself, okay? You have to go out there and file for it. Okay. There is a data center sales tax exemption in Idaho. This is not unusual. I'm not going to say it's common, but it's not unusual either, to where a lot of states want to get data centers put in their states, and they offer a lot of tax incentives for that. And basically it says in here that, let's see, if you're a new data center and you choose to locate in Idaho, you're going to be eligible for a sales tax exemption on all the server equipment. That's huge. And the construction materials used in the construction of the data center facility. So that's really big. I mean, if you think about the amount of money that goes into the construction facility and all the servers, that's a large amount of money, okay? If you have one there or know of one there and you're not getting a sales tax exemption, my question is, why not? And if you're looking to place a data center somewhere, a lot of times it doesn't really matter what state they're in. You just want to make sure you have good security and financially it makes sense. Take a look at Idaho, because that's a pretty good deal. I mean, total sales tax exemption. I mean, other states have different types of exemptions and incentives, so you want to weigh it against other ones, but that's a pretty good one. Okay, last one I want to talk about is the Workforce Development Training Fund programs. Now, this is a huge program in Idaho, and I really love this. But this is coming from an organization called the Idaho Workforce Development Council, and they award grants, which again it's not a tax credit or tax incentive. I mean, this is like money, just it's like a gift. And it reimburses approved training costs to eligible applicants, bringing jobs to Idaho. Adding jobs through expansion, so bringing jobs or adding jobs, right? Bringing jobs from out of state into the state, or adding jobs in an existing business in Idaho, and or retraining existing workers. Now, retraining credits in various states are not that unusual. They're not necessarily typical. I don't see it in a majority of states, but they're not that unusual, okay? So if you are bringing jobs into the state, if you're adding jobs in a current company, or you're training your workforce to get better, basically what we're talking about is productivity, right? We're talking about stimulus in the economy. Anybody that's producing is going to help economic development in the area, right? You can get there's various programs to help you in this area. So there's 3 particular programs that I want to talk about on this video that fall underneath this umbrella. One is an employer grant, and that is awarded to a company to reimburse workforce development training costs. And I've done some training in my own company. I've got some retraining credits in the state of Georgia, but a lot of people miss this credit, okay, quite frankly. There is an industry sector grant. And that is granted to a consortium who identifies a training solution to alleviate industry-specific skill gaps, right? So this to me is almost like kind of a contest kind of grant. Like if you come up with something pretty innovative and something that solves a problem for an entire industry, I'm not sure if it has to be some sort of miraculous invention or insight. I doubt it. But this is something that if you come up with something, I mean, you might be able to double dip credits here, where you're going to get something in retraining. You might get some sort of exemption for any equipment you might have purchased and doing all this, et cetera, et cetera. But you also might get an industry sector grant because you're improving the entire industry in the state of Ohio. I'm sorry, not Ohio, Idaho. And the last one is an innovation grant. So just like we were kind of talking about earlier about the research and development credit, innovation grants are designed to fund projects that are serving youth or adults and benefiting localized and or rural efforts, right? That one is kind of vague, so I'm not really sure I have a lot of detail for you on that. That to me would be something I would look into to see if it was something I was interested in participating in, not necessarily something that I let the tail wag the dog on. But I would definitely want to see, hey, look, if I can do something good in the community and get some incentives for it, you never know. So I would look at the innovation grants that are underneath the Workforce Development Training Fund programs, if you get a chance. Last thing I'll say, and this is not really under tax incentives or tax credits, although I've been going a little bit off path here anyway, talking about some of these other grants because I just think they're very applicable to business owners in the audience of these videos, is they have something called infrastructure grants. And there's 3 different types of grants. They have community development block grants, they have rural community block grants, and they have GEM grants. Community development block grants are cities with 50,000 people or less. You can receive up to $500,000 in grants to help finance public infrastructure. So this is not really for business owners necessarily as much for like not-for-profits or different public organizations. The rural community block grants are for populations of less than 25,000. You can receive up to $350,000 in grants. And GEM grants are local cities with less than 10,000 in the city. You can receive up to $50,000 to help finance public infrastructure improvements that support business development. And all these grants, all these infrastructure grants are going to be spent and stewarded by public officials or not-for-profits. But the point of it is it's almost like a Chamber of Commerce kind of grant, like it's to support and fuel just a business climate and support to local small businesses through this program. So that's really neat. And I think the fact that the state is getting involved in offering some grants in that area is really neat too. So anyway, that is it for Idaho. Again, very particular to people in Idaho, which I think is a good thing. Not a lot of vanilla cookie cutter type tax credits here, but hopefully this helped. If I was, in Idaho, I'd be looking for those sales tax exemptions, property tax exemptions. I'd be looking to stack one on the other. I'd be looking to double dip on federal credits and state credits. If you need any help with any of these or want us to look into anything deeper, please let us know. Send us an email, put a comment in the video. We're happy to look into anything specifically for you. You just can't cover everything in a video. So if anything you heard on here bends your ear or anything, please let me know. If you're in Idaho and you're a tax professional, please feel free to comment if there's anything I need to be corrected on, or if there's anything you think should be added, or if you have any insights on any of these programs or credits that maybe you have experience with. That would be much appreciated. So, okay, until then, I will end this video now and get ready for the next state, which is going to be Wyoming. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.